was doing my MBA, and yes, if you have an MBA, you have to announce it, part of the contract you sign, one of the big things I learned was that creativity is very hard when you have endless opportunities. If you draw a line on the paper, that is where creativity can flourish. Creativity can also flourish when you have constraints. So it's very important to start with something, oftentimes to get past that creative writer's block, or at least to get the juices flowing. Well, because I committed to building 52 videos in 52 weeks with 52 workflows, the workflows are becoming pretty second nature to me. I do a lot of this similar work for my day-to-day job, so I'm experiencing a lot of this. Coming up with thumbnails, descriptions, and titles, well, that's been a little more challenging. So this week for week number 3, my workflow is to take a transcript, come up with some alternative titles, some descriptions, as well as a mock-up for a thumbnail to help me build these videos a little bit more effectively, at least be a starting point to get the juices flowing. So that is what I did this week, the YouTube thumbnail description generator. So how did I get this workflow working? Like many others, it started with a form submission. So I had it where you would enter the text file. YouTube, if you upload a video to YouTube, it'll automatically generate a transcript file for you, and that's what I did here. From here, we're extracting the text from the file so that the model can read it. So just a simple extract text from file node, and then messaging the model. Here is really where, like most of these workflows come, is where the magic is happening. I have 2 different prompts here. I have a system prompt, which I'll put on the screen right now. And this is just telling the AI what to do every single time. Because I want to have different things here, I want to have different title ideas, prompt for an image. I want to also have different ways of using the output here. I want to make sure it was returning a JSON and not just a block of text. What I'm then doing on the user role for the prompt is that I specifically giving it exactly what I want. I want a title, a description, alternative description, the thumbnail concept. And with the thumbnail concept, what I found really break it down. What's the layout we want? What's the hook? Is there any on-screen image or text we want? And really the background behind the visuals. From there, it outputs into a node I have here, which is taking all the data and parsing the response, so it's a little bit easier to read and kind of have separate variables, while also taking and creating, like I have showed for almost all my other workflows, creating a unique file name. Because again, I'm using an AM that is self-hosted, we need to have a way of saving the file and then being able to call it back when we're putting it into the doc and generating the image. I'm using just a test model here, Nano Banana Pro. I've seen the most success with giving good thumbnails, but before this test, I'm using a little bit simpler model. And here it's very simple. As I said before, if you look down here, the thumbnail concept, this is where I'm putting the visual, the on-screen text, the layout, and the hook, so that there's a little bit better structure of the prompt. So it's not just a big block of text that can kind of change every time. When I was testing this, I generated it, I'd say probably 3 or 4 times. And the image consistency was actually very impressive when I was breaking it down like this. All right, the classic I do every time, saving this into my server. And finally, what's really funky here. So what I learned was that the Google Docs node doesn't have a way of uploading image. So what you have to do is you have to do a HTTP request to edit it and send it in here. It's actually not that hard. It's relatively simple to just do a post request to get it in there. You can use your Google OAuth to get in. And then there's just some JSON you need to do to insert it properly. Do an inline insert for the image. And that's just inserting the image we just created. So now finally putting into the doc. We have the image in there. Now let's get the text in there. So how I did it here is really why it wasn't so important to do JSON and kind of break it out different ways. One of the big things when it comes to any content creation or anything, creating anything in general, is just having different alternatives and different things. So what I have is what the AI believes is the best title and description, and finally some alternative titles. Sometimes, for my last video for week 2, maybe I didn't like the idea of the AI butler, wanted something else. So it gave me 4 others, as well as 4 other descriptions to kind of have it starting off. The really important thing here I found with this workflow is not necessarily to come up with a thumbnail and title every single time or come up with the descriptions using copy and paste and go, but to get the creative juices flowing. Like I said before, when you have a line drawn on a page, your brain opens. When there's limitations, it allows for creativity. The open-endedness can also oftentimes be the challenge when it comes to posting content or doing anything around this. So I found this workflow very helpful for me to at least get the ball rolling and try things out. And I almost forgot to show off the best part, what this actually all looked like. So as you can see here, we have the thumbnail, Whether it's good or bad, I think with a better model, this image could be a lot better, but this was just for testing purposes. You have the title, the description, the 4 other alternative titles, and the 4 other alternative descriptions, or at least the beginning parts of those descriptions. As you can see here, throws into a Google Doc, pretty easy. And from here, I can even do other workflows with this, but I want to show off the progress of really what you're getting with the initial workflow I just built. Now on to how to improve this to make this even better and less ugly, I would say. So we saw the output, we saw the workflow. How could I improve this? Number one big thing to improve this is right now I'm using a transcript. There are many public APIs you can use to take a YouTube video directly and get a transcript for it. Another big thing to improve this is on the image quality. As you could see, I'll put the thumbnail maybe back on the screen. It's a little bit ugly, a little bit boring, and doesn't evoke the emotions I want it to. So big things I think would be having consistent messaging in your image so that the themes are the same, all the thumbnails are the same, just to keep inspiration a little bit more consistent, and then possibly also using better image models. I've been having a lot of success with Nano Banana Pro, a lot better, especially with text, so that would probably be another big improvement. And finally, I think the other improvement is if you saw the description, not really YouTube-esque. I think breaking it down more for ensuring it has your links or anything else you copy and paste as a description is probably the best thing to make this a little bit better. Overall, though, I think the use case of this is not to come up with the final product. It is to get the juices flowing. And for that use case, I don't think there's much improvements rather than maybe some better prompting. I think the next step up, which would take a lot more time, is to have this production ready. That is for sure doable and for sure possible. I just think we need to put a little more effort in to get there. So for next week, what am I going to build? Think of Pokemon cards. That's all I'm going to give you. And hopefully you guys join in for week number 4, where I'm building something exciting, really directed for building for sales reps, and with a little bit more excitement, a little more fun, and again, using one of my favorite products, Lovable, to get this ship launched and testable for week 4. Hope you guys enjoy. Tune in for more. Tune in for next week's, and keep building, people.